February 27th, 2022, the relatively young and sprawling town members of Evan Nation had been thrown into a frenzied panic. They had broken their one and only rule, and now they were facing the consequences. Two members of the town watched in horror as their former friend began to grief the town while jeering in a snarky voice, "That's why you don't trust people on anarchy servers," before he promptly turned around and got himself stuck in a building, only to be hacked to pieces by the two members shortly thereafter. Despite the griefer's failure to do any substantial amount of griefing, the damage had already been done the moment he revealed his true colors. The thin veil of security around Evan Nation had been irrevocably shattered, and the base members knew that it was only a matter of time before the griefer would return. That is, as long as nobody else beat him there. With the clock ticking on the town's life, the members quickly grabbed everything of value at the town and destroyed the rest of the supplies so that they couldn't be used by the enemy. And with that, they forever left Evan Nation and migrated to a far distant land to create something even bigger and better than their small town. This is that project. As is the case with some tragedies, despite their many negative emotions and consequences they impose, they have a unique side effect of bringing people together in ways perhaps nothing else could have. As was the case with these players, they had really been loosely affiliated with each other at first, but with the loss of their beloved town, they became united to each other, bound by the ties that no amount of controversy or hardship or time could ever break. On that fateful day, the same day of the grief of Evan Nation, the players decided to become an official group called the Republic of Azenkof, and the location they had migrated to would become their first base, Azenkof City. Now, before I talk about the base itself, there's something important to understand about its founders. You see, every member of Azenkof knew each other in the dreaded real world. It's a unique factor that allowed for greater communications, teamwork, security, and arguably the most important factor, friendship. There was no need for fearing anything like a betrayal because everyone had already been friends before the base even began. And it was around this principle that the one and only rule of the group was made: no new members unless you knew them in real life. It was a measure specifically designed to prevent another disaster such as the grief of Evan Nation, where a foreign member had been brought to the base only for them to turn on the group. With this, Azenkof was able to operate autonomously without fear, and such measures allowed for open discussions and plannings with all members of the group, regardless of rank or merit. Such a tight-knit group allowed for the base to prosper and flourish, and in no time, Azenkof City had become more than any member of Azenkof could ever have dreamed of. With ground first being broken by founders Jack on the Craft and Joe Nathan YT, with the construction of the Obelisk, a traditional building Joe Nathan builds first at every base, shortly thereafter the Town Hall was erected, assisted by members the Overlord 3093 and the Destroyer 1290, and each player's house quickly followed suit. As time progressed forward, so too did the building skills of the base members. More complicated and elegant structures began to pop up around the base, such as the elegant map art museum and the towering citadel. New base members were added, doubling the count from the original 4 to 8 members, with the new additions including River, Rags to Wags, Perry 0001, and Boo. As the base size and member count grew, it only figures that the global relations of the Republic of Azenkof did as well. With their contingency rule during the infancy of the base, they had remained underground and took an isolationist approach to 0B0T politics. But as the base began to mature, the members slowly began to poke their heads out from their isolationist shell and cultivate relationships with other groups and players. Significant alliances were formed with the group known as Curiosity and its founders, Dirty Fox and Miver, as well with other prominent players such as Elstag. The Republic of Azenkof was by no means a 0B0T world power, but it had made a substantial leap forward in terms of its political prowess. Still a fledgling group, they had created a strong basis for themselves to stand on, as well as solid ground for them to move forward. The future looked bright for the starry-eyed Republic, but as is the case with any anarchy experience, fate often comes when it is least expected. When a player or group enters a Minecraft anarchy server and starts a base, it is done with the knowledge that one day, anything and everything they create will be destroyed. Like building a sandcastle, it doesn't matter how large, grand, or intricate it is, or how much time and effort you put into it, or how many people were working on it. Inevitably, the waves of time will always come to settle the score. These waves began to form when longtime player and friend of Jack on the Craft and Joe Nathan YT, Iwu rejoined the server with his group's base, the Diamond Outpost, having been nuked into oblivion. Meeting the Azenkof founders, he asked to join the group since he no longer had one to return to. Jack and Joe agreed. The one contingency had been broken, and the waves started to roll ashore. Iwu was brought to the base. Unbeknownst to Azenkof, Iwu had been fascinated by the base, and once all the members had logged off, began to stream the base to other players, one of them being Future 5. The streams were in no way malicious and intending on leaking the base, but Iwu had simply just been showing off the base to other people. The consequences, however, were very bad and ended up costing the base its life, as in a lapse of judgment, Iwu had neglected to censor the base's coordinates. The secret was out, and the base location was compromised. The waves had enclosed Azenkof City. And so it happened that on the day of November 9th, 2022, founder Joe Nathan YT awoke from a strange lucid nightmare. He had dreamt that his beloved base had been griefed, and he was forced to watch it all play out in front of him. Troubled by his visions, Joe Nathan logged on to 0B0T as soon as he could, only to discover that, to his horror, his dream had become the reality. Except, let's let Joe Nathan himself explain his experience.
Hey Jack, it's John. Just wanted to say, yeah, our base got griefed. It got griefed hard. This is basically how it went down. I had a dream last night that, we got griefed. I had a dream last night that we got griefed, and I couldn't recognize any of the usernames. None of them made sense. In my dream, I pressed tabs and I looked at the names, like the player list. I didn't recognize anyone. And that's when I started to realize it was a dream, and that's when I woke up. At around 8:30, in order to put my mind at ease, I decided to boot up my computer and log in to, make sure the base is okay. Just, just to put my mind at ease after a dream like that. And when I did that, instead of ending up in my penthouse where I was supposed to be, I ended up a floor below the penthouse. And I look up, the ceiling's destroyed, and then I fly around a bit, and everything at the base was destroyed. The Map Art Museum, there was a crater. The Citadel, nothing left. The Millennium Falcon, only the cockpit just floating in the air. There really was nothing left. Of course, I flew over to the storage area. I turned on store TSP. I didn't even go down the hole, but there were no chests left. They took everything, and they blew it all sky high. So there's nothing left for us there at Azenkof. We're moving. I wish I could have sent you screenshots, but I logged off for a little bit, and then I logged back on, and I fly over back to the Citadel to make sure, the chests that were under the Citadel were okay, and luckily those were okay, right? But then I hear stone blocks breaking behind me. I turn around. I die instantly. They kill me, one shot, and then I respawn at my bed, and I hear explosions coming up the Citadel, or it's coming up the obelisk, getting closer and closer, and I log out. And then the third time when I logged back in, I was bed trapped. And they just kept spamming easy, easy, easy. Man, that pisses me off. But that's what happened. So, that's the rundown. Call me when you get a chance.
The Overlord 3093 was later informed that the base had been nuked. When he logged on later that day, he found the base to be in shambles, all except for his lair, which had remained untouched. The storm had passed over him, and in his lair lied a treasure far more valuable to the group than any shulker box destroyed that day: the last complete surviving map of Azenkof City before the grief. During this time, Dirty Fox had been doing some investigating. His base, Curiosity, which was the namesake for his group, had only been griefed days prior, and with the grief of Azenkof City, he saw a connection. After doing some digging, he found a player named Future 5 who pointed him to his missing link, Iwu. Iwu had not only been to Azenkof City, but also to Dirty Fox's base as well, and had pulled the same streaming stunt there too. When this info was brought to light, he was swiftly kicked from both groups. It was, however, not the last time that both groups would see him, but that is a story for another day. As a species, we humans have always had an obsession with the first of everything. Everyone remembers the first man on the moon, and the first man to discover America, and it is the dream of many to be the first person to do something. Azenkof City was by no means the greatest base in 0B0T. Heck, it probably won't even be the best base that the Republic of Azenkof will build, but it does have the distinction of being their first base ever built, their first time dipping their toes into the whirlpool of chaos that is 0B0T, and for that, Azenkof City will always be their most memorable base.